I think I want to just pick your brain, like how have you gotten to where you're at? And give us some tips, some pointers about communication.
Yeah, I think the first and foremost thing, number one, is speaker speak. And you'd be surprised that people miss that first step. I'm a speaker. Where do you speak at? Nowhere. I haven't spoke yet. I'm just, well, what do you mean? I think that speakers speak, and the number one thing that helped me as a speaker was I was speaking. I just had the advantage of speaking at a young age. I gave my first sermon when I was 7 years old. I was at a church where, when the Bible teacher, our Bible teacher is so bad, what I'm about to say, he had sickle cell, so he'd get sick like randomly. And what would end up happening is I'd be sitting in class and there would be no one to teach our Sunday school Bible class. And I just get up and start teaching it, And when I look to the door and he's not there yet, I just get up and just start teaching.
That's literally being prepared in and out of season.
Literally being prepared in and out of season. When there was something at school that was going on, they'd ask me to say something or to teach or to speak.
Wow.
And I took every opportunity to speak. I joined something called Teen Empowerment that was going on in Massachusetts, in my city, where we just spoke to other young people. And I'm amazed at how many people want to speak who don't speak. And I think that you have to position yourself to speak, which is why the beauty of technology today, you have a platform to start speaking.
So good.
Because there's some things that only come through steps. And speaking is one of those things, you cannot elevate yourself to being a better speaker. You can only step your way to being a better speaker. You can't just wake up one day and be a worldwide communicator. Nope, you're gonna have to be terrible. You're gonna have to mess up. You're gonna have to say, welcome to Chicago when you're in Boston. You're gonna have to forget your notes. You're gonna have to stumble over your words.
We've all had some war stories.
Yeah, you're gonna, dude. I'm gonna tell you one of the worst things I ever did when I preached. I'm gonna tell you one of my horrific preaching stories. Okay, this is embarrassing. What I'm about to say is embarrassing. I'm embarrassed to even share this. My first time speaking at Jubilee. Okay, Jubilee is one of the local churches here in Boston. And I'm so excited. And I decided I'm going to preach on this story. And I'm talking about how Jesus heals the man who is invalid. And I do this whole thing on, this man is invalid, meaning he has no name. God, just sometimes you might feel invalid. Sometimes you might feel like you're ignored. Nobody knows. We don't even say his name because he's invalid. But God says you are valuable. And I do this whole thing. And then afterwards, the Pastor Matt, comes up to me. He said, man, a great sermon, but that word's not invalid, it's invalid. And I was like, oh, I'm thinking he's never gonna let me preach again. It's over. I cried in my car. I was depressed for hours. And I realized that is what makes great speaking. You have to speak.
That's so good.
You gotta be terrible for a while, because on the other side of terrible is good. And if you do it long enough and you do it with the right principles and stuff in place, either you're going to learn this is not what I do, but most likely you're going to learn I can do it better.
So good. I want to talk about that with coaching, so don't let me forget that point of conversation. But he gave such a practical tip that many of us didn't have when we were younger. I didn't have this. It just kind of came out when I was in high school, but a digital platform. So you have a platform. You have the ability to get some reps and some repetition, even grow an audience and to communicate and add value to them. Don't skip past that. So if you don't have a physical platform to speak on, you can literally start doing it today. And so that's the beauty of social media. But you also mentioned, you have to just kind of suck to get your way there.
Gotcha.
It's steps.
And
I just remember I have so many different fails and horrible things that I said. I can't even say some of them on camera because it's just so bad. But I just remember for me, there was one time I'm preaching, I'm emceeing, I was kind of hosting the moment, and there was an exhortation moment is what it was. And I just start talking and going off, and I'm just preaching, and my, veins are popping, spit's flying, and I say something like, I go, Jesus is, I meant to say the reason for our existence. It was a Christmas service, reason for our existence. I said, he's the bane of our existence. And I'm like, that's the most anti-biblical, such a heretical stuff. I'm like, what am I doing?
He's the bane of my existence.
And everybody, literally the whole crowd was in the moment, and everybody was like, what did you just say? Jesus is the reason for our existence. Anyways, it's so bad. You have to just kind of, it takes steps. You're growing. That muscle has to grow. So the stage has changed though. And so now with COVID, even pre-COVID, the stage has been changing quite a bit. And so it goes from a platform and a pulpit to now it's really an online audience. Can you talk to us a little bit about online communication? Because I think this is a change that's here to stay.
Yeah, I think your ability to look into your phone and say something that's worth listening to is the most powerful skill you can have in this day.
That's right.
It's the way we are selling product. It's the way presidents are campaigning. It is the way that we're even convincing our parents to put on their masks or stay at home. We're communicating a thought through a camera and saying something that's worth listening to. And I think that everyone has to develop the skill because it's not going anywhere. It's actually going to become more common every single day.
The stage has changed.
So, yeah, I had a very unhealthy relationship with social media. I was totally anti-social media. I was against Facebook. I was against Instagram. You're never going to catch me on there.
Same. I was the same way.
Yeah, but there are two stories in the Bible. One story where Jesus heals a woman because she wants to touch the hem of his garment. And because of that, he heals her that way. But then there's a story of a centurion whose servant is sick. And he says, don't come to my house, just send the word.
Send the word.
And Jesus says, I got you.
Good.
And the Lord is saying, look, whether it's up close, a touch, I can get it done that way. Or whether it's through distance, I can get it done that way.
So good.
But the healing power of the Lord, it's good for the person who's in the room, but it's also good for the person who may be far away. And so we got to get to a place where you can do both. You need to be able to communicate to somebody who wants to just touch you, touch the hem of your garment, and communicate to somebody who's saying, don't come to my house, just in the video, we'll be all right. I think that's powerful.
So good. So you're one of the most masterful communicators when it comes to capturing attention through, it's not just the words you use, it's your body language, it's what you're wearing, it's the topic, it's the title. Can you talk about capturing attention? Because that's what the world is fighting for right now.
Yeah.
So we have to be, I was listening to, I think it was a TED Talk, and he goes this, write this down. You have to be intentional about being attention getting. So you have to be intentional about being attention getting. I think you capture attention, and then as you capture attention, you can actually capture their heart. You do that so well through your legacy prayers, through YouTube, through sermons. How do you do that?
Yeah, I think you win people within the first 30 seconds of your message. Some people will say first 8 seconds. I mean, you get a small window to introduce yourself and to grab someone's attention. For me, I'm speaking for me personally because you and I have different styles, and I think both of our styles there's a commonality between both of our styles. But let me just say the difference first. I'm a heart preacher first. Some people are head preachers first. Some people teach head first, heart second. I'm heart first, head second, which means I'm more. I'm gonna pull and tug on your emotion almost before I tug on your mind. Where there's some people who are the opposite. They are going to hit your mind. They're going to slap your mind silly, and then kind of get your emotions to that spot. But I think the commonality between us both is solving people's problems. At the end of the day,
100%.
At the end of the day, I heard Bishop Jakes say it this morning. Bishop Jakes was saying to a group of pastors, he was saying, stop using your congregation as therapy. Like, this is not a therapy session.
Wow.
They didn't come to hear about how sad you are. They didn't come to hear about your gripe with your mother. They have problems. Solve the problem. I promise you. Whether you are a speaker who screams, whether you are a speaker who sits in a chair, whether you're a speaker who yells and runs, whether you're a speaker who just stands flat foot, the commonality of winning is, will you help me solve a problem? And I recognize that the person who I'm talking to, some of them are thinking about getting divorced. Some of them are thinking about committing suicide. Some of them are trying to figure out what's my life's purpose. Some of them are trying to figure out, am I staying in this marriage? Do I want to raise these kids? They all got stuff. And they just want to know, can you speak to my heart? Can you help me with this issue? If you cannot, I don't care how cute you are. I don't care. It doesn't make a difference. I don't want to hear you. And so the moment you can learn how to conduct a speech that can solve a person's problem in 20 minutes, no one has the time to be entertained by what you have to say.
100%. So you talked about this in Speakeasy. You talked about how you start with a topic before you start with a text. And so I love that because it set me free almost. I think old school communicators, and not that it's bad, it's just different. I think there's different ways we all communicate. We start with problems and then we find passages for those problems and find a prescription through them. I think that was you that shared that is, problem, prayer, a passage, and then a prescription.
Yep.
Those 4 P's is how you kind of do it. So when you have, conversations, counseling appointments, that's really where, guys, you're gaining your content from. So I'm a good preacher because I'm a good pastor. So you talk to people, you have interactions with people, and that's how you gain the content, and that's how you have conversations, and then you have the ability to communicate and sermonize those topics. So that's how you start. You start with topics, and then you get the text, and then how to go from there.
Yeah, I think different things at different times. I mean, it depends what season of life I'm in. I'm at a point now where when someone calls me and they say, hey, man, can you come speak at my church or at my event? Typically, they have a vision for the event. Even at my own church, my pastor will say, hey, we need more volunteers. We're really trying to gear into volunteering. I don't say to my pastor, well, the Lord has moved on me. I found a text, and the text, I can't go away from this text. I got to, no, that's out of order. It's like, okay, so you want me to speak on volunteerism? Oh, there's a passage for that. For me, here's how I start every sermon I write. I ask this one question. Who do I want a person to become as a result of hearing this message? I literally write that down, and I envision who a person will become by what I say. I don't preach for necessarily inspiration. I preach for transformation. I think about my audience, what I want them to look like when I'm done. So if I'm talking about volunteerism,
So brilliant.
I start thinking about maybe this person's going to leave this more confident about themselves. They're going to leave here with a community now. That's good. They're going to leave here saying, I'm more active. They're going to leave here more alive in what they're doing. So what do I need to say to get them there? What points do I need to get them there? And when you start to develop your sermons that way, you will always win because you've set a tone for, I'm doing this for your transformation and not your entertainment.
So good.